Hello, how's it going? So this is a thank you and a bit of a video to talk about my Comic-Con experience, or rather just one experience in particular. I've been wanting to make this video for quite some time, but due to trying to get caught up with work as well as the fact that I was sick for almost a week, it took me a bit longer than anticipated than when I wanted to get this video up, which was pretty much as soon as Comic-Con, which was a couple weeks ago. Now I wanted to get this up as soon as possible. But I wanted to give a huge shout out and thank you to Sideshow Collectibles this year, as well as those behind the Core of the Dead. Go a little bit background. I had a mission this year. Earlier in the year, they released the Core of the Dead Chronicle, and I thought with Sideshow, especially with Core of the Dead this year, would make a huge appearance, which wow, they did really massive this year with the amount of lineups they showed off. I thought, what better way than to bring my book in and see how many signatures I could get of those who worked on the Core Dead, whether it was something small, massive, or for that matter, a cosplay. Which there were some cosplayers there. I missed a couple of them, but I got see two of the bigger ones, as well as unfortunately missing the Zul cosplayer, which I really wanted to see. Anyway, so I wanted to first give a shout out to Sideshow. You guys did amazing this year. Huge amount of statues shown off on almost all of the properties. AVP, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, just huge lineup this year. It was amazing. Probably one of the best I've seen in almost 10 years. It was just, you guys really went out this year, and it was awesome to see. But I want to focus more on Core of the Dead, which is what I was after getting there, besides seeing one of the statues I have on order that I'll have later this year. So one of the first shout-outs I wanted to give out was to Eric Scogan and Ricky Lovis. These two gentlemen were the very first two I pretty much met there at Comic-Con during preview night, as well as Thursday and Friday mainly. These two went above and beyond and helped me out getting signatures. Not only did I get their signatures, but they helped me out in particular trying to find others who worked on the project, who might have been on the other side of the booth, maybe even pick them out in the crowd, which Ricky was really good at, actually, picking people out left and right, and they were just real awesome people. They were there for most of the con. They helped me get a lot of the signatures I was after. Just to show you guys here, I filled up my entire opening page alone from Core of the Dead, and you can see right there the massive drawing of death alone. That was by Kim Jong-ji. He had a booth down by Artisan Alley. I went down there, got the chance to just say quick hi. He did a cool little illustration, signed it, and it was awesome. But yeah, so shout out to those two who helped me out a lot, finding people to get signatures. The total tally of which was 17 signatures in total, filling up the whole page, and then a couple of signatures scattered throughout, including one cosplayer, which was real awesome, who did the cosplayer behind, geez, wow, now I'm blanking here all of a sudden. Not the Shard cosplayer. I couldn't get her signature. She was a little bit more difficult because of constant pictures and photo ops, and I only got to see her once before I had to go off for staff work. The cosplayer behind, why I'm blanking on the character all of a sudden, I have no idea. Shard. Or no, sorry, Kier. Kier, that's who it was. Ha! Not Shard. Shard I wanted to get a signature from, but just unfortunate I couldn't. But cosplayer behind Kier, I got her signature as well. Whole bunch of other people. Another shout out I want to give out is to Rachel Rubik. Sorry if I might just butchered the last name. I'm terrible with names. She was one of the artists, as well as one of the main people behind probably the biggest reveal, for me anyway, with Core of the Dead, which was the reveal of the Malavestra statue, which probably is now either my number one or two statues. I'm still trying to figure that out, because I think my number one statue right now is probably the first one I got, which was Demethyl, the General Reaper. Number one statue as far as very first one I got. But the thing that makes Malvestros amazing and great was not just because he's an awesome character from the book standpoint and his characteristics, but I think he has one of the best and most unique bases there is for any of the Core of the Dead. So they either have a base that's either somewhat basic until you get a very close look and see the details and very small artwork they did on the base, couple light ups, or a base that's unique to the character in the sense of how it portrays them. Good example would be Siren's base, which is this underwater little I'm blanking again. This underwater little crevice, underwater base that she has. Sorry, mine's kind of blanking out here. It's getting a bit late. And then there's a couple others that have somewhat basic, but get more complex as you get closer and really take a look at them. Malvestros, his base was all over the place. It kind of looked the same way as when you first meet Malvestros within the Chronicle, where he's standing on this wall where souls are entering and figuring out where they're going to go in the underworld as far as where they'll be processed and where they could end up next. Malvestros, he was sitting on this piece of wall with the Core of the Dead symbol on it because he's not aligned with any factions. He was just sitting on this wall, and there was crystals everywhere. There was books, skulls, coins. There's so much history and things of the underworld on his base alone that just makes it so amazing. And the fact they go all out on that on a base alone was just absolutely gorgeous. And really gave a sense of the underworld as far as what they put into it. I mean, it was probably one of their best statues coming out of the underworld. Not saying the other ones aren't great, especially some of the other statues, such as they're doing remakes of a couple. Don't want to go into too much detail. I did get to talk about some behind-the-scenes stuff and things that I really don't want to talk about because it's something that was very privileged to be able to talk about, but some I don't feel like I should be spoiling nor giving out. But it makes me really excited to see some of the things, especially since I've been following the court for over almost 5 years now, since way back in 2013, I believe is when they first appeared at Comic-Con as well as Monsterpalooza before that. So for almost 5 years now I've been following this, and it's been one of my favorite things that I've been so interested in. The Chronicle just brought that out even more since then, and collecting the statues and everything. Anyway, I gotta move on here. Next one I want to talk a little bit about was, and give a bit of recognition to, is Mark Newman, who worked on the statues for the Core of the Dead, Malvestros, the Queen. He worked on a lot of the original lineup, and as well as the new lineups coming up here. Amazing artist. Gotta talk a little bit with him, not too much. And then, yeah, hearing how he sculpted them, hearing about how he brought the characters to life and the process behind it was a real cool thing to listen to. Thank you so much for that. Next person, shout out for probably one of my favorites I got to talk to, minus Tom Gilliland, and we'll get to him too here next. Shout out to Stone Paralysis. He is a artist and writer on Core of the Dead. He's been with the project since very early, almost beginning. Seeing some of the artwork he did, as well as how he brought the book to life. He was one of the very early people behind it, and his process of thinking was real awesome, because one of the things you'll notice very quickly while reading the Chronicle of the Underworld is it almost feels like a D&D adventure. It feels like it takes you on this path, like there's a storyteller, Malvestros being the storyteller, who takes you on this path throughout the book, explaining stuff, how things came about, who characters are, everything, and he takes you on this journey that almost feels D&D like. And when talking to Stone Paralysis, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your last name, it was awesome because that's literally how he portrayed it. When he writes for a book, he writes it in a D&D fashion manner. You know, he writes for games, and he makes anything in his writing game-like. So being able to talked to him quite extensively, in fact, about that, and being able to hear his thoughts on how he did stuff and the illustrations he did and the writing. It was probably one of my favorite experiences that I got to have and be able to talk with him. And he's done a lot of amazing stuff, and it was real awesome getting the chance to talk with him, being able to see what he has in store coming up, and like being able to see how he did his processes, especially how he writes, was probably one of the coolest things I got to hear about and talk with. Next shout out, of course, being the very creative director and very person behind the Quartet, which is Tom Gilliland. I don't even know where to start with this because there's so much I got to talk to him about it. And it was an experience like none other, being able to talk with the very person and the mind behind the Core of the Dead that I've been following for so long. It was absolutely amazing. Being able to see how he came up with the Core of the Dead, how his process thinking of, how he brought these characters to life, and why he thought this would be one of the best steps for Sideshow, looking for an original property, something their own that's not DC or Marvel or something that has been done a bunch of times. And they really hit it out of the park. And unlike some people who, this thing's been around for 4 years, they've been teasing these statues, all this stuff for many years, but so many of us have been on the sidelines for so long. But finally being able to meet Tom and be able to talk to him about some of this stuff, it finally gives me a chance to feel more relief on not just what has been going on since now, but what's coming up as well. We got to talk about so much stuff, got to pitch some ideas, and got a little bit behind the scenes of some stuff of what's coming up, stuff I can't share. I mean, even though, I didn't sign anything, I didn't agree to nothing, but it's something out of respect of just, some of it was private information, and I don't want, being my background of a job, I sign a lot of non-disclosure agreements, and even not signing them, I still know when to respect and when to keep quiet about things. But the things we got to talk about, which I don't want to keep saying things, the property and the stories and everything that we talked about really made me assured to continue following it, because they have a lot of amazing stuff coming up. They have a lot of amazing ideas they want to do with the property. Just a couple of years ago, this property was still something they had no idea where they were going to take it. And it feels like this year, or even starting of last year, it feels now they know where they want to go with it. And now they know where they want to take it and how they're going to shape this new original property of theirs. From the comics, they've been test running. It feels like now they're starting to get a look at what people are liking, not liking, what more we want to see. They might not talk as much as we wish them want to, but nonetheless, they are doing a lot in the background that I'm sure when stuff finally comes to light and out of the darkness, it's something that we, as collectors, as fans of the property, will enjoy so much. And being able to talk with Tom, it was very reassuring seeing where the property was going, what's coming up. They have another, and this is probably the one little detail I'll probably give, they have well over 5+ statues. Don't want to give too much detail, but they have over 5+ statues in the process of making now. I'll give one little detail away. One of my favorite characters that I've been dying to see since very back at the first Comic-Con that they revealed after Monsterpalooza back in 13-14 was Sheev. A character we didn't know much about. In fact, it's probably the one character that pretty much had no background or knowledge on, yet everyone knows what the statue is, what Sheev kind of looks like as far as a skull with a bunch of drapes over it. And I got to talk to him a lot about that. And when she was first revealed in the original lineup, it was nothing more than a skull, a rod through it, and then sheets covering it. There was nothing to it and very little in detail. So I got reassured by Tom that statue is actually being remade. They're actually now know where that character is going. Sheev was a character that they might have had a background story, which we found out in the Chronicle, who is actually a girl. We didn't know that before. It's a girl character who has a background, but they didn't know how to exactly give her a look. But I guess she is being remade, redone, and hopefully we'll see something soon. Soon, with hopefully in the next year or so, on what might have changed with Sheev. And that's my favorite character that I've been waiting so much for, and to finally hear what's going on with Sheev, it made me very happy and relaxed, knowing that Sheev's getting a proper remake and a very good not do-over, but real good makeover to see how they can improve her, and the fact that instead of just a rod under the sheets, she will now be fully fleshed out underneath and really have some kind of look to it. But one character I'm looking immensely for. Another thing I got to talk with Tom with, which was probably one of my favorite parts, was the the fourth faction. So rather than the three main factions, there is a fourth if you read the Chronicle, which is the faction of Blood, or others might know it as Sanguine Heresy. Apparently that was one section that was almost cut from the book. Just to let some of you know, or anyone who watches this, that for those who have read the book and know of the Sanguine Heresy, that was actually almost not in the book. They weren't sure how people would partake it, or if people would even like it to begin with. So that was probably one of the biggest topics, besides Sheev. That was probably the biggest topic I wanted to talk with Tom about, and really reassure that is something that they should bring more light into, because in the Chronicle they do nothing but whisper. That's all they do. They whisper it. They don't talk about it. They merely whisper it, and that if anyone tries to, it could get you into serious trouble. It's a part of the history that they want to remove, but the Underworld has a way of bringing it back, and nothing is forgotten in the Underworld. So being able to talk with Tom about the Sanguine Heresy and the faction of Blood makes me really hope that they do flesh it out more and give a story, because I would love to know more about Ravis, one of the original Core of the Dead members, or one of the original members of the Core, and what happened to him, how he got exiled, how this whole process went under, how he created the faction of Blood and tried to take over the Underworld from death. Just so much I wanted to talk about. So it was amazing, and I'd like to shout out all the other people I got to meet and have little talks with. Sorry, I can't name all the people off that I got signatures for. Some of them were just quick meet greets, and then meet and greets, and then pretty much gone, whether I had staffing or they had to go. I tried to shoot for 20. I was being a little bit optimistic when I first started, and then realizing that after like 15 signatures I could actually get close. And there were some artists and illustrators that were there I didn't get the chance to meet. Because I was staffed this year, I missed out on people, which is fine. I mean, the amount of people I did get to meet, the experience I had was something I'd never want to change. Neither for my staff position I had to go to, or for the people I did get to meet. It was an awesome and amazing experience. It was something that is definitely on one of my top Comic-Con experience after going for over 10 years now and seeing so much. This was by far something I've dedicated so much time into, and be able to get reassured, being able to see how much is changing, how much is coming up, all this stuff. Like, it's making me really excited to see what the team behind the Core of the Dead and Sideshow have in store for next. And next year sounds like it's going to be an amazing year, that the Core of the Dead is going to really start taking off. And it's definitely starting to become noticeable. They are really starting to take off with the animation, the book animations they've been releasing in videos, which, seriously guys, you gotta make a fleshed out story of that stuff with Melvestros. Amazing voice, amazing illustrations behind it, and the the smooth animations, very also rough as well. It's one of my favorite things, seeing those videos that you posted. Absolutely would love to see an animated story in that fashion that they've been doing with these short little videos. Um, yeah, it's I just don't know what else to say at this point. I mean, I'm loving the Core of the Dead. I can't wait to see they're starting to ramp up. It's going to start taking off here soon, especially it seems like they have loads planned for next year, hopefully. Some of the stuff I got to talk with behind the scenes. Hopefully one day I'll be able to get a tour of Sideshow and be able to chance to really meet some more Core of the Dead people and get the chance to really express a huge thank you and Core of the everyone behind the Core of the Dead, those behind Sideshow. Thank you so much. You guys made my Comic Con experience this year so great. Had loads of fun, and for my 10th Comic Con year now, actually, that was definitely a way to go out for number 10. I had a blast, so I gotta say thank you everyone at Core of the Dead. You guys were awesome. It was a great experience, and thank you so much. Absolutely loved it. So I'm going to sign off here and say bye. Thank you for watching, and hopefully some of the people behind the Core of the Dead and Sideshow see this. Huge thanks. You guys are awesome. So thank you so much. Bye.